Welcome to Universe Live. I'm Eva Jane Hendricks.
And I'm Hassan El-Sheikh. It's Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. In 2018, the remains of Elizabeth Salgado were found in Hobble Creek Canyon. Now, the remains of her aunt have been discovered in Washington County.
A hiker found 46-year-old Miriam Salgado's body near a campground between Virgin and Hurricane. Police are still investigating, but say the two deaths are not related.
Governor Spencer Cox says the 2023 general legislative session was successful.
It's been a long 45 days for sure, but it has been a very fruitful 45 days.
The governor says the impactful work includes funding for school teachers, major tax cuts, and social media restrictions for minors.
A historic meeting of faith leaders in Salt Lake City took place on Wednesday.
Thanks God, I see you again.
Thank you for coming.
The First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ met with Azerbaijan's highest religious leader. They discussed shared values, hope, music, and building relationships.
Congratulations to the Provo Airport. The Provo Airport Terminal was featured in Utah Construction and Design magazine as the most outstanding mass transit airport project in 2022.
A new BYU study finds what kind of GIF user you are and what it says about you. Two professors from the School of Communications, Dr. Scott Church and Dr. Tom Robinson, spearheaded the research.
Utah's mountain snowpack hits a milestone and puts 2023 in the record books. This year, Utah has received more snow water equivalent than 1983, 84, and 2011. But with more storms in the forecast this year, is expected to pass those numbers. The current snowpack is the highest it has been at any point since in 7 years. The Natural Resources Conservation Service lists the statewide snow water equivalent figure at 20.8 inches of water. Even if this year 3 doesn't surpass 1983, it's still likely to land in the 10 best Utah snowpacks on record.
Park City is extending its ski season. After more than 450 inches of snow, the ski resort will be open for an extra 2 weeks. The extension will make this Park City's longest ski season since 1993. Utah's ski season began when Brian Herd Resort opened on November 4th, making this season Utah's 4th earliest ski season on record. Park City is one of the only few resorts that have penciled in the closing date. The new closing date is set for Sunday, April 23rd.
Historical snowfall this year has some worried about what will happen when all the snow melts this spring. But as Universe Live reporter Robin Christensen found out, Provo City has plans for how to manage the snowfall and flooding.
Meteorologists say the record snowfall this year may impact spring runoff and flooding. City engineers watch the snow conditions closely year-round. Provo City has a team that gives input on the water systems.
So we always have a hand in designing the system and saying what gets put in.
Preparing for the snowpack starts with city officials' input on the plans and designs for the water system's developments and infrastructure. Most of the water comes from the high Uintas. Right now, those mountains are around 120% of the annual snowpack. Runoff will flow into the Jordanelle and Deer Creek reservoirs and then the Provo River. All of those water flow sites are only at 50% capacity because of the recent drought.
Those reservoirs will fill, but not necessarily have a lot of extra water.
Additionally, Provo City works to construct and maintain drains, gutters, and sewers throughout the city. Even with the extensive preparation, the biggest threat to spring flooding is the temperature.
If it stays really cold and then turns hot, and that's when we have issues.
This year we have even more snow, and the big concern is that it's going to melt all at once.
The Provo City engineers say they don't foresee a huge spring flooding, but are prepared if anything would happen.
We are prepared to divert it a different way so it doesn't harm anyone's property or homes.
The team is also equipped with around 160,000 sandbags, and a BYU volunteer team is on standby to help fill and place those sandbags.
We have a sandbag filling machine that can fill sandbags in 10 seconds per bag.
There's also a team of maintenance workers that are available to help residents with flooding and can be contacted through a hotline at 311. Reporting for Universe Live in Provo, I'm Robin Morris Christensen.
Utah Olympic Park celebrates the grand opening of the new Spencer F. Eccles Olympic Mountain Center. The opening of this Olympic caliber hill was funded by the George S. and Dolores Doré Eccles Foundation. The grand ribbon cutting ceremony was held on March 1st.
And to know what a fantastic impact it's going to have on so many kids and elite athletes alike for generations yet to come.
These facilities aim to create a welcoming environment for children, elite athletes, and Paralympic athletes alike by increasing accessibility and lowering the barriers of entry.
An assistant professor at BYU says AI can help people learn and teach languages. Rob Reynolds is a researcher in natural language processing. He says some AI programs rely on probabilities rather than rules to operate. Reynolds has worked to create rule-based tools designed for students and teachers of the Russian language. These tools can identify errors and provide explanations when users input text.
Medical-related hair loss is a painful issue. Fortunately, there's a way you can help. BYU Y-Serve is running its semi-annual Share Your Hair event tomorrow and Thursday. The event is a hair collection drive for the nonprofit group Children with Hair Loss. If your hair is 8 inches or longer, you might be able to donate your luscious locks to the less lucky lads and ladies. To make an appointment, go to yserve.byu.edu/shareyourhair or go to the Wilkinson Center Terrace from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. this Wednesday or Thursday. Stylists from the Paul Mitchell school will be standing by to snip your strands.
Consent can be a difficult topic, but some BYU students and groups are working to increase the dialogue about consent. Alexa Elliott spoke with some of those people about this important topic. Alexa?
Consent can be a taboo topic for many, but BYU students and some organizations on campus are working to educate BYU students about consent.
Elise Mackley works as a peer mentor. One day a freshman came to her and shared an experience.
She had been sexually assaulted and didn't know it.
Mackley had also been sexually assaulted in the past and says she could have described the same experience word for word.
Like, there are so many people out there besides me who have this experience, and nobody is talking about it enough, and so I need to talk about it.
Mackley started the Instagram page BYU Sex Talks, which works to increase conversations about difficult topics such as sexual assault and consent. The Title IX office on BYU's campus offers resources on education and response on these topics.
When consent is not present, it's sexual assault.
Deputy Title IX Coordinator Abigail Morrison says that consent includes all kinds of romantic touch.
Consent is about communication. It's a check-in, and it's making sure that both people know what they're agreeing to do, and they're both comfortable doing whatever it is they're doing.
There can be some misunderstandings when it comes to consent.
Students will say it's more about like good physical interactions, like you should just be able to feel the vibe. And I can just tell you, working in the Title IX office, we might not all be as good at feeling the vibes as we think we are. And that's why you really need to develop a good practice of consent, because you want to be creating safety for that other person.
BYU student Rachel Billings is the vice president of Rainbow Collective. She recently hosted a training on consent. She said it's not just about avoiding harmful relationships, but strengthening healthy ones.
It's a tool that you can use to build relationships that are healthier, that last longer.
Billings doesn't want people to feel bad if they don't know about consent.
There's a whole community of people who want to help you learn about consent, and not knowing about consent it's not shameful. It's not like you did anything wrong because you don't know. It just means, have a conversation. Educate yourself.
If you want to learn more about consent, or if you think your boundaries have been crossed, you can reach out to the Women's Services and Resources, CAPS, Sexual Assault Survivor Advocacy Services, and the Title IX office. Off-campus resources include the Refuge, SAPRIA, and the Children's Justice Center.
Consent is important because loving people is important, and loving people in the ways that they feel loved is kind of the only way that it's going to work.
In the end, consent can be a way to prevent dangerous situations and foster healthy relationships. Reporting for the Universe in Provo, I'm Alexa Elliott.
General Relief Society President Camille N. Johnson and Young Women President Bonnie H. Corden conclude their 9-day ministry to Africa. Their tour connected with Latter-day Saint women and government leaders across the Central and Eastern African areas. Stops included Kenya, Uganda, Republic of the Congo, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
I have never heard such joyful noise. I have decided that's what the celestial kingdom is going to sound like.
Latter-day Saint women greeted the presidents with dance and song in Nairobi, Kenya, their first stop on the tour. President Corden also visited an all-girls high school in Nairobi where 62 girls attended seminary. In the DRC, President Corden joined youth in the Kinshasa Temple to perform baptisms for their ancestors.
Provo Center Street is the home of several restaurants and businesses.
People come here, they're shocked that something like this does kind of exist in Provo.
We'll take you underneath the streets.
These people going to heaven up this way, ain't nothing to do with this poor city.
After NBA legends Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal called Salt Lake City boring, some local companies have set out to prove them wrong.
A Utah-based healthcare company has chosen to join a nationwide initiative. We'll show you what potentially groundbreaking research it will be working on.
Tough news for BYU basketball and terrific news for football.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Intermountain Health is one of 42 health systems selected for a nationwide initiative. Intermountain and other health systems selected for this initiative are working to enhance patient outcomes through an accelerated research process. The National Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute selected Intermountain Health and others to develop new strategies and accelerate other research initiatives. Intermountain can receive up to $500,000 in funding for the initial stage to support future strategies for implementing the research.
A local company is fighting back after Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley called Salt Lake City boring during All-Star Weekend.
Well, ain't nothing to do with this poor city. Can't smoke, can't drink. These people going to heaven.
Since All-Star Weekend, several Utahns and local leaders took it upon themselves to show that there's plenty to do in the city. The company Loud Marketing is putting out a series of billboards featuring Shaq's infamous claim. The billboards feature the boring claim with a picture of something that does not look boring, such as skiing, hiking, and more. Utahns can post with the hashtag #BoringSaltLake for a chance to get their photos featured on the billboards.
Center Street in Provo has been around for just over 130 years. Universe Live reporter Megan Brugger went there to give us an inside look on all that space has to offer. Megan?
I'm here in downtown Provo exploring the literal underground scene, full of businesses and history.
Center Street in Provo has always been full of life and business. However, it is important to stop and take a look at the literal underground history. Located at Provo Town Center, people can follow the stairs and signs to the whole other world located underneath the city. The historic underground has been utilized since 1890. It was once busy with blacksmiths, undertakers, candy shops, and collectives, and businesses have tried to continue to occupy the space. But right now, it is more successful than ever. Business owner Jess Boyer attributes that success to the energy and life that now occupies the space.
You just feel the energy in this building, like it's still happening, it's still here.
Noah Clark, who works in one of the businesses downstairs, has been exploring every inch of the underground building.
Once people come here, they're shocked that something like this does kind of exist in Provo.
It sure does exist. Boyer has been working in the underground area for 5 years and has since opened her own art studio and classroom, as well as helps with the vendors downstairs.
You get down here and you realize how amazing the space is.
Past and present business owners have worked hard to preserve the natural history, and tenants now follow rules to preserve the natural beauty of that building. For example, the exposed rock and brick are original to the building, and tenants are not allowed to do anything with them.
The building looks so beautiful because we've all kept to those rules.
According to Boyer, when Provo was settled by early Latter-day Saints in 1949, they struggled financially. They used barter shops and collectives to help each other thrive, and the underground area continues to do just that.
It's kind of an homage to that, where there's all these beautiful businesses and they have all of these artists in them, and it's kind of just the same as it was then, but now we're thriving as a city.
Reporting for Universe Live in Provo, I'm Megan Brugger.
That's so cool. Thanks, Megan.
Men's and women's basketball have officially played their last West Coast Conference game. The women ran it back for a third time with Gonzaga yesterday. It was a tale of two teams, with Gonzaga shooting over 50% from the field and BYU shooting 36% with 23 turnovers. The Bulldogs won big 79-64, bouncing the Cougars from the tournament. The men were also hoping for 3 times the charm against number 16 St. Mary's, but the luck wasn't there. BYU played a close game despite only shooting 29% from the field. The Cougars could not find an answer for Alex Dukas, who put up a game-high 23 points on 64% shooting. Both men's and women's basketball will hope for an NIT tournament bid and then be on to the Big 12. It's March, which means NFL Combine time, and Blake Freeland got that message loud and clear. Freeland kicked things off, breaking the Combine record for offensive linemen with a 37-inch vertical. For reference, that's better than Pro Bowl receivers DeAndre Hopkins and A.J. Brown posted at their Combine workouts, except Freeland weighs close to 90 pounds more than them. He finished number 1 for offensive linemen in 4 total events, including the vertical jump, 40-yard dash, 10-yard split, and the broad jump. Freeland was projected a 2nd or 3rd round pick coming into the weekend, and that's certain to be a lock, if not improve.
Thanks for joining us today for Universe Live.
Have a great day.